Welcome to After the Pull, the video series where I usually take all of the comic books that I read for the current comic book week and share my thoughts and opinions with you guys. Except, this is the abbreviated version. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, if you love daily comic book content, you came to the right place. So before we get started, everyone, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mutant Beaver Comics. If you guys love exclusive variants, go ahead, head over to mutantbeavercomics.com. They have over 4,000 exclusive variants in their store. They got top-notch customer service and great packaging. And if you use my discount code Corner10, not only can you save 10%, but you can also save 10% off of future purchases. So check out mutantbeavercomics.com. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this week's episode. All right, so a little programming note. You probably noticed I'm in a different location. I'm actually in my wife's office in our house. I could not stand being in the heat another moment, so I decided to just film in here today. Sorry if the audio might be a little bit echoey. I can't really tell. I don't have my normal mic in here. I just have my little blue snowball mic, so hopefully it captures some of that echo. And I only got a chance to read about 6 other books besides the new #1 so far this week. I was away on a little bit of a day trip or away for the vacation with the family. So these were the 6 books that I decided to talk about, and these I think were the better ones. So you're going to see that they might be a little bit higher graded than normal because I picked some of the best to read first. All right, so the first book that we're talking about is Ain't No Grave. This is issue 3. This book is written by Skottie Young and the art is done by Jorge Corona. It's 32 pages for the price of $4. Now, Jorge Corona's artwork really shines in this book. If you're not familiar with his artwork, I'll just remind you, he is the one that actually does Transformers. He's the one that's done the Me You Love in the Dark. He's done Middle West. He's done a lot of great stuff here, guys. So this artwork in this comic is really well done, and I love this issue because you get to see like a poker game going on. There's cards flying everywhere. There's poker chips. The characters are so like different, you know. And the cool thing about this comic book here is that we're learning about this woman right here, and her name is Ryder. And it just seems like she's just a little rough around the edges. In the beginning, we find out that she is dying and she's going to take on death her actual self. And you get to see this journey that she comes across to get to that point. And while she's going through all these like little trials and tribulations, you get to see all the experiences that she's dealt with throughout her life. So you learn the character. And this is perfect character growth as you're intertwining both the current story and everything that she's went through in the past. This book is definitely a recommend. This book is an A. I think Skottie Young is definitely a wonderful storyteller, and having Jorge Corona's artwork on top of it is just a plus. So this is a awesome book. I definitely say pick this one up, and I can't wait to see where this story develops, and I'm not even sure how long this story is going to last. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Action Comics issue 1067, 36-page comic for the price of $5. This book does have 2 different stories in it. The first story, the main story, is written by Gail Simone, and the art is done by Eddie Burrows. Now, the artwork is pretty good, and this is a book that takes place, like I would say, in the Silver Age, the 60s, right? Get to see the old Superman logo in here. So I thought the way the characters' facial expressions were kind of cool. The way, like, you know, the alien ship looked was kind of neat. And I thought that was fun, right? So I did think that the art was interesting. I thought it was very interesting that Superman is biting some gun. Like, why is he eating a gun? I don't know. I thought that was weird. But nevertheless, it read like an old school tale. And this is a book that has no continuity. This has nothing to do with what's going on in the DC universe at this point in time. It literally is another alien invasion comic, which I wish was a different story because we just got the whole House of Brainiac thing where they invaded Earth, and it just seems like repetitive storytelling, even though this is a not in continuity story. Takes place real early on in Superman's career, right? So that's what you get in this first story. Then in the second story, you wind up seeing a Lois and Clark little story here, part 1 from Rainbow Rowell, and it's about her being editor-in-chief, how she feels like she can't replace Perry White, and she has the tough time pulling strings, and Clark is sitting there, you do what you need to do in order to run the paper, not thinking that really he could be involved. So when he gets involved with was it Atomic Skull, I think it is, and he was supposed to write the piece on him, well, Lois makes the call, and now the soap opera begins, right? Just like She-Hulk, there's relationship issues when it comes to these two. I think they're gonna have business and pleasure mix in the workplace, and they're not gonna get along, and you're gonna see like a Jack of Hearts and a Sensational She-Hulk thing happen. I don't know. It was okay. Listen, when it comes to this comic book, I think it's nowhere near the level of the House of Brainiac story, and I don't think this is meant to be that. But when you just got done reading an excellent story that leads into an event, and then you have someone else come in, it's not quite the same. So even though I liked it and I continued to read it, it just wasn't as strong. So I'm going to give this overall book a C+. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below when it came to this issue of Action Comics. Green Lantern issue 13. Now, Jeremy Adams has been doing a pretty bang-up job when it comes to this comic book series. This one is a 40-page comic for the price of $5. This book does have the main story, which is an absolute tie-in, and then it also has this backup story featuring Theros, who has been like the main bad guy this whole time, which has been working with Amanda Waller, and obviously Amanda Waller wants Hal Jordan captured for whatever purpose. Okay, so yes, this book does tie into the Absolute Power tie-in. We do get a different artist on this. This is Fernando Passarin, which is, it's fine. It's not the normal art on here, but it does an adequate job on what it needs to do. The characters kind of look pretty cool. There is some good facial expressions in the comic book, and it's fine. It's good. Now, what's going on in this book is got a little bit of everything. It ties into Absolute Power. It's trying to tackle the events that's going on in the main story, and I feel like Jeremy Adams, is having a tough time. It's like you can tell almost like he wants to tell his story, but he's kind of held back because he's got to do Absolute Power stuff. But there are some cool pages where we do get to see like Sinestro as a Red Lantern, and you do get introduced to a new Spectrum here, and this is a spoiler, so if you haven't read it, I'm going to tell you in 3, 2, 1, and this is Sorrow, which I thought was actually kind of cool because he was supposed to get married to Carol Ferris, and since he's such in distraught and this woman left him, which was Carol Ferris, he becomes something else, right? I don't know if you guys like that or not, but I thought it's a little bit comical, and I want to see like where they go with this character. And the engagement ring is actually like his power ring, right? So it's right there, like it became powerful. So I thought that was weird, right? Because you do get this new core person in this whole Spectrum mess, right? So overall, I mean, this book is a little bit all over the place with the events that's going on, and you're trying to learn about Theros, you're trying to learn about Amanda Waller, Hal Jordan's captured, he's trying to escape, he's trying to get his ring, but it was fine. It works. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this one a B-. I think Green Lantern, for the most part, has been a very solid run, and I love the direction that it's going. Of course, when it comes to the tie-ins, you can't help but to write the story, right? So it does hold it back a little bit, but I'm looking forward to the overall direction of this book once the event is over. The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 53, legacy numbering 947 for the price of $5. This book is 28 pages, written by Zeb Wells, and the art is done by Todd Nuck. Now, the artwork looks great, man. I am not going to complain about this. The art looks phenomenal. The colors are bright and vibrant. There's some good action pieces in here with certain characters, right? So I think that looks pretty good. You know, this looks really good as well. So there's definitely some good things about this comic book. Now, when it comes to certain characters teaming up with each other, this is like freaking Zeb Wells threw up all over the place and said, I'm going to get all these characters together and we're going to have an adventure. And if you guys are on board, hey, that's great. And if not, you know, that's your choice. But here it is right there. You got the Walking Brain, you got Miss Marvel, you got freaking the Lizard with the Dr. Octopus arms, Wreck Rap is in there. So you got all these crazy characters, and they are going to take on Green Goblin, and you get to see that battle that happens. And in some cases, the battle was fine, and in other cases, it goes too far into like the craziness aspect of Spider-Man lore, right? Like, Ms. Marvel is such a prominent character in this series right now that I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. Now, some of the stuff that happens with Wreck Rap in here is actually comical, where you get to see the traditional, you know, Goblin glider, you know, scene from the Spider-Man movie, and it's supposed to maybe kill him. Yeah, he's just like, yeah, cool, man. I mean, like, that was kind of funny. But then when you get Ms. Marvel, who gets all pissed off and she starts wearing the octopus arms, to me, that's stupid, okay? Because these octopus arms are not supposed to be like transferable to other people. They belong to Dr. Octopus, and that's it. It's just like the old ones have been taken off of Dr. Octopus, then they wound up going to J. Jonah Jameson. They have like a mind for themselves, and now it's just like, hey, Miss Marvel can wear them. It's just stupid. That whole thing with Dr. Octopus arms is dumb. If Dr. Octopus wants new arms, that's fine, but these ones should not be going to host to host. It's not like a symbiote thing, okay? And then you got whatever happened to the Walking Brain, the Living Brain, that thing is destroyed. And then you wind up getting to see the face-off between Green Goblin and Spider-Man once again. Did I think this was the worst comic that I have read when it's come to this series? No. Absolutely not. The worst one is when we wind up getting Miss Marvel was the one to die and then come back a week later, right? That whole time frame, that whole time was the worst. Okay, but when it comes to this story, it's not the worst, but it's just a bunch of mashed up crap coming together to make this insane story, right? So I'm not here to bash it. I'm not going to say that it's my favorite. I'm just going to say it's coming to an end, and hopefully we'll get good Spider-Man story again. And, you know, I'm going to give this one a C+. It's definitely better than average. It's definitely entertaining. I think it puts a laugh on your face, or a smile on your face. And, you know, we'll see what happens going forward when it comes to Spider-Man. Okay, so let's get into some really good comics here. The first book we're going to talk about is Geiger. This is issue 4. This is written by Jeff Johns. The art is done by Gary Frank. This is a 32-page comic for the price of $4, guys. And for $4, listen, Gary Frank's artwork is second to none, man. Just check out the way, you know, Geiger looks in here, or I should say Tyreek, the glowing man. There's a 2-page spread in here where, you know, he's entering the little airport fortress with the organ people, and these people will take your organs and stuff like that. He's got a new little sidekick by the name of Nuclear Knight, who is fighting along his side, and he also has the mutated dog by the name of Barney, who's got 2 heads. And it's just been great to see the little journey that these guys are actually on, okay? And in this series so far, we've gotten to see these guys go on a particular mission that can possibly cure the glowing man. But in the meantime, we wind up seeing someone following them, and I think his name is the Electrician, and there's a bounty on the glowing man's head that pays really well. So we found out in the last issue that his dog, Barney, wound up getting captured. And now Tyreek is the one that blames the Nuclear Knight for letting his dog get captured. So they gotta go on the mission and rescue the dog. And then what happens is they come across the electrician guy, and it looks like this guy has all the answers to stop Geiger, right? I mean, absolutely awesome. Such a great book. Every time I read this book, this is one of those books that reads very quickly for me. I pick it up, I get into it, I find myself lost in this world. I feel like I'm part of the group, the trio here, and I'm on the adventure with them. And that's what you want from a comic book. You don't want to sit there and read this comic book and be like, man, are we almost done? What did I just read? Right? No, I feel like I'm just into this world, and I love this story. This one gets an A+ for me. Plus, I'm a sucker for animals, so I feel bad for whatever, torture Barney has been going through, and I hope that Tyreek, Geiger, the glowing man, whatever you want to call him, actually rescues him and this animal is okay. Transformers issue 10. You guys know that this is one of my favorite books on the stands today. 28 pages for the price of $4. The writer here is Daniel Warren Johnson, and the art, once again, the second book that has Jorge Corona's artwork in it. And in the beginning of this book, right, there is not a lot of action in here, or not a lot of dialogue, I should say. And it really focuses around Beachcomber, a small little Autobot that's at peace with the world. He wants nothing but peace. If you've watched the original cartoon back in '84, the G.O.D.S cartoon, you know what type of character that he is. In this comic book, he comes across the Ark and he sees all his fellow comrades dead. And he does not want them to wake up. He does not want war on this beautiful planet. And that is very much stressed in the beginning of this comic, which I thought was great. Now, another thing, and I'm not sure if you guys caught this, in the opening panel when they're doing the battle on the Ark, Bumblebee is actually active here and he's actually fighting. So I thought that was kind of cool, right? That you do get to see Bumblebee in one page, right? So that was really cool opening to this. And now the main plot of this story is Shockwave has this space bridge now to get Decepticons to come to Earth's planet, and now they also want the resources of Earth to go to Cybertron, so Cybertron can be this planet that it once was, right? Now, this particular story thread was used in the G1 cartoon, and I don't know if you remember it, but it was like, hey, let's bring Cybertron to Earth and replace it, right, and bring it to Earth's atmosphere and all that stuff. And you wind up getting to see that happen in this particular issue. But all the other story threads that are happening in this book is what makes the book, right? Just the character interactions, Prime going through all this stuff about leaving Jazz and Cliffjumper behind, and the whole thing of what's happening with Ultra Magnus in here. It's just absolutely amazing. And what makes this comic book so good is the storytelling, because Daniel Warren Johnson really knows how to give characters emotion. And the thing is he knows all these characters' voices. And even though these are just robots, they all have feelings. And that's what makes the Transformers so good. And that's why a lot of people did not like Transformers, the movie from Michael Bay, because those characters don't have the same types of emotions, right? These have the emotions from that original cartoon, and you hear that if you watch that show, you kind of know what's going on, those voices in your head. But I also don't think you need to be a fan of that to appreciate this story, because this is a well-told story. And the amount of different Autobots and Transformers, even though we see quite a few of them, we've been slowly introduced to them, so you're not overwhelmed with all these different characters. This is an absolutely beautiful book, and this is the page where we wind up getting to see Cybertron being pulled to Earth and take over Earth. So again, this was a plot that was used in the Generation 1 cartoon. Now, how they conclude that, I'm not sure, but I really like Shockwave's involvement in this, Soundwave as well. This overall book is the top book of the week for me, I'm sure. I don't think there's anything that's going to beat this. I still have about 10 books left to read, but this gets the highest level, like the elite level, the S rank, whatever you want to call it. But everyone should be writing Transformers. My only thing about this book is please do not take Daniel Warren Johnson off this book. It will never be the same. It will never be the same. So let's hope that after issue 12 or the next story arc that he gets to continue to write this book. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which books do you think deserve the top grade of the week? And as always, guys, if you love my content, I'll leave you more content right here for you to click on. And of course, guys, remember, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember to read your comics. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.